is Janet AYERS, and I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a hereditary connective tissue disorder affecting the collagen. So all of my joints come out of socket. I'm like a Gumby. And so I literally one time went to sit down in a doctor's waiting room chair, and it pulled my hip out of my pelvis and in front of my pelvis, and I couldn't bend at my hip over. So I've spent 25 years being disabled. I've spent the bulk of 14 years in the hospital bed in my home, having 19 surgeries and taking up to 29 prescriptions a month, including 125 micrograms of fentanyl per hour for 10 years, plus oxycodone, plus 3 antidepressants, plus anti-anxiety, plus, because when you take one prescription, then it tends to address something and cause other issues. So I started out with a pain pill for my knee, and I ended up on 29 prescriptions. I was disabled for 25 years. I now am no longer disabled. I now can go roller skating up to 3 times a week. I can bowl the 7 games in an hour. I had my arms reattached, and this shoulder still hangs in a state of subluxation because the physical therapist destroyed it immediately after surgery, which is why that collar still hangs down. But I can still bowl 7 games in an hour without any pain because I decrease the inflammation regularly. I do this with daily PMF sessions. So I have another condition called complex regional pain syndrome, and I got this about 7 years ago. It is the most painful chronic pain condition known to medical science. It's known as a suicide disease. I know people who have taken their lives from it. People who have it limited to one limb sometimes will just have that limb amputated. I have it systemically. So the way that it affects me is that it started with feeling like I had exploding fire after a surgery in my hand. And the same second, I needed glasses and my eyes started to shake like this. It developed into moving to my foot. I thought my foot was broken. My brain felt like there was like a motorcycle turned on in my brain, and I used to just grab my head and scream and cry. I used to not be able to leave the house. It was a very depressing and lonely life. And last time I was here, I read you my suicide poem that I wrote last time, because I was to the point where I couldn't live anymore. So I understand with cancer and other conditions, people are afraid that they're going to die. The condition I have makes it that I was afraid I was going to live. So I went to a wellness center. I found a PMF mat. It actually started with a B, and I was amazed by PMF. I used it twice a week for 2.5 months until it burned the micro blood vessels in my fingertips. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't have to die anymore, but I couldn't use this system because it burned me. And that burn was something that took months to heal, and I just couldn't use that system anymore. So I investigated PMF myself. I found this system, and I really feel like God led me to this system because I was completely ignorant of it all, but they had complex regional pain syndrome was one of the conditions that this system has been proven to work on. And so I bought the system, and it saved my life. And I started taking it to my doctor's office, where I would stay for a whole day once a week and use it on all of her patients. And she bought 2, and my doctor bought 2 systems. The pharmacist that filled my prescriptions for 25 years, she has bought 3 systems. She now has PMF in her pharmacy, and she's actually closing down her pharmacy at the end of this year so that she can do what I do now. So we've seen so many miraculous things in the pharmacy. And that's really why I'm here, because in the application of this system, I've learned how to help so many people. So these are some of okay. So this is a picture of a woman's hand who has the same condition that I have. And so this is the complex regional pain syndrome. And she was carrying her arm around on a pillow. She could not move her arm. So this is actually a picture of it on the pillow. As you can see, it's grossly deformed with the being swollen. This is her hand after a few months, maybe even 4 or 5 months of PMF. So it was a very slow healing for her, because with CRPS, you have to go very slow. She was only on sensitive, only on 8 minutes. And eventually we got the swelling to go down, and she is continuing to heal. She now has bought her own system, and so she's continuing to heal and hope. This is the picture of a little old lady that came into the pharmacy that I was working from, and she walked in pushing her walker with her hands like this because she couldn't flatten out her hands because of her rheumatoid arthritis. So she came to the counter and said, "This medicine is crippling me, and I don't want to die. I want to thrive, you know." And so I said, "Well, get on the mat." And so she got on the mat, and this is after her first session. She was able to flatten her hands completely on the table. And as you can tell, her fingers are grossly disfigured from the rheumatoid arthritis. This woman was praising God, quoting Isaiah 41, I think, at the end of her session. So it's a joy to be able to help people so drastically. This is a woman who, these are thermographic images of a woman who had an accident, and she's had headaches and backaches at a 9 or 10 every day since she had the accident. These are before images on the left side and the after image on the right side. I only did her neck, okay? She said my neck hurts. If she had said my back hurts too, I'd have done her back too. I think we would have wiped it out entirely. But, and I also think if I would have waited longer, because once this puts the force field around you, it's gonna keep working for hours and hours. So we waited 30 minutes, and then we took this photo. I think if we would have waited longer, we would have had no red in the picture, okay? This is a morbidly obese dachshund, okay? So I recently went to a veterinarian who is a holistic-minded veterinarian, and while I was there, she also had complex regional pain syndrome, so I told her about my mat. She knew about PMF, but she had that B version, and she said it quit working for her, and so she just bought another one because she thought it was broken, but it wasn't broken. Her body adjusted to the frequency, and so only our system will help me to not have that happen. So I take my system to veterinarians, chiropractors, that kind of thing, and I say, bring me your sick people and let me show you what I can do. So I said, bring me your sick animals. This is a dog she brought that was a morbidly obese dachshund, could not stand or walk. And we did the thermographic images, so you can see to the right of her spine, it's 105.4 degrees before we did PEMF therapy, okay? And this is 30 minutes after PEMF was done, okay? I think once again, if we'd have waited another hour to take the picture, I think there would be all green. But I can't tell you that for sure because we waited only 30 minutes, and so this is how much the inflammation had decreased, which is drastic. When you look at the red hot and white hot on this dog, so as you can see in the before picture, she's pushing herself up in the front, and her back legs are kicked out because she can't stand or walk. And when she came in, her eyes were bugged out and she was shaking profusely. I honestly thought this dog was dying in front of me. I thought it was having a heart attack or something, but I said, bring me your sick dog, and this is what they brought me, so I put it on the mat. Well, after the session, the dog is sleeping now. And the owner was shocked. He said, you sell this? I need this. I'm buying this. So that was his response. So this is my own dog who one day he came in from playing and he had a blocked saliva duct sticking out of his neck. And this is my hand showing you how big it was. It was this size. So I took him to the vet, and the vet said it's a blocked saliva duct. It has to be surgically removed. It has to be a board-certified surgeon because there's so many nerves in his neck. If they nick the wrong nerve, he won't be able to close his mouth to chew. Seems kind of important. And it was going to be 6 to 8 weeks before we could even get to the consultation. So in the meantime, I said, okay, well, I'll just take him home and put him on the mat. Well, the vet didn't know what it was. He said, you can do whatever you want to do. Nothing is going to make this go away except to have it surgically removed. So I put him on the mat anyway. So I put him on 10 minutes a day on sensitive, just once a day. That's day 5, okay? And that's day 10, completely gone in 10 days. Mind you, this vet was not interested in what made me not need the surgery, which is why he's no longer my vet. So this is a picture of my dog's urine, okay? So the picture on the left, I took him out to pee one time, and I noticed that he urinated blood. This was my service dog at the time. I had just gotten my mat. So I took him inside. I called the vet. They couldn't see him because it was during COVID. And they said, my vet said, you have to send him to the emergency vet right now. So I said, okay, but my husband had my car for the next hour and a half, so I just put him on the mat for a solid hour and a half. I didn't know I was wasting it. Okay, that's my time. I have to finish, I'm sorry. So I put him on the mat for an hour and a half, and then I took him outside, and the picture on the right is his yellow urine an hour and a half later. Okay, I've tried this with many humans. This is amazing for UTIs. It's amazing for UTIs. So then my friend Terry got me in touch with the veterinarian that uses this system in his practice, and he said if it's a UTI, if he doesn't appear to be sickly, don't take him to the vet, put him on the mat 3 times a day for a week, and that's what I did. So I saved myself, what, $1,000 maybe, another $1,000 for the other surgery. I'm going shopping. I'm not paying vets, okay? That's what I'm doing. Okay, so I would just like to tell you a couple of things. So recently I've gotten into audio, so people who have hearing issues, all right? So there was a woman that actually came to the veterinarian that I sold to recently, and she doesn't treat people because she's a veterinarian, so she just lets people lay down with their animals. So this woman had a traumatic brain injury. She had not been able to hear for 11 years. She wore hearing aids, and she laid down with her dog, and when she stood up, she had her hearing. So the next day, it was starting to fade, and so I took her an Omnium 1. She was going to the Ozarks for a week, and I let her borrow the Omnium 1 for a week. When she came back, she said, I don't know if it's permanent or not. I'm buying a system. Who cares if it's permanent or not? I don't wear hearing aids anymore. So then I had another woman come over. I was going to place an ad, and she was coming over to do the business. And before she did it, I'm passionate about this. I think everybody should have one in every single home. And so anyone who comes in my presence hears about PEMF. So before we did her business, we did my business. So I'm telling her, do you want to get on the mat? Do you want to try it? And she's like, I have scoliosis. She had cancer and went deaf from the radiation. Okay. So she had to take out her hearing aids to get on the mat. She got on the mat. After she got off of the mat, we did the pat on her back. She had no back pain, and she was hearing better. When she first got off the mat, she said, it sounds like there are pillows and covering my ears. And I said, praise God, that's a change. And that's what we're looking for, is a change. I didn't know what it would end up, but so we ended up doing all of her business, signing the contract, getting everything done. And when she went to leave, I was like, wait a minute, do you have your hearing aids in? And she had to feel. And she said, no, I don't have my hearing aids in. So she almost left them behind. And she was shocked because of the difference. So I'm really thinking about approaching auditory doctors. But my thing is that the doctors don't know, because the people who teach the doctors don't want the doctors to know. You know, I was taking 29 prescriptions. I had so many doctors. I used to have a medical file with all my doctors, all just pages and pages of doctors. Call this guy for this, call that. No, don't call those people. Put me on my mat, okay? If I'm having an issue and I can't tell you, put me on my mat and let me figure it out. So that's the way I deal with things now. I actually don't even see doctors anymore. I'm in charge of my health. There is no doctor that cares more about my health than I do. I promise you that. So that's the way I feel about it. So I give God all the glory for everything that I see. Okay, it's not me. I'm nothing special. It's all what God's done. So I just want to tell you that I read you my suicide poem last time. I'm not going to do that. But I was to the point where I used to call my pastor every single day and say, I don't know how many more days I can get up and choose to continue to breathe because of the shooting fire, feeling like I'm being stabbed in my eye or my ear or my brain, or violently through my body, or my hand being crushed in a vice. It wasn't actually, but it felt like it. Felt like my foot was broken. This hand had exploding fire. Felt like I was being electrocuted on my colon, with dropping to the floor in a heartbeat, or in my spine. And so I really felt like I had to die. And I could relate to a man named Job. I don't know if you know who he is, but this is from the book of Job. It says, those who which long for death, but it comes not, and dig for it more than for hid treasures, which rejoice exceedingly and are glad when they can find the grave. That's where I was. It no longer applies to me. This is my verse now. It comes from Psalm 30, 11 and 12. You have turned for me my mourning into dancing. You have put off my sackcloth and girded me with gladness, to the end that my glory may sing praise to you and not be silent. O Lord my God, I will give thanks unto you forever. That's high testimony. God is good. This system rocks. There's nothing like it on the market. I've had so many clients say, you know, yours is really good, but I can't afford that. So I bought this. And I say, and how's it working for you? And they say, it didn't. I sent that back and I tried another one that's a little more expensive, and that didn't work. So now I'm ready to buy yours. Right? I know, because you have to.